Tying Catskill Style Dry Flies by Mike Valla. This book, this is great. If you haven't been following along, I'm doing all 11 flies that he profiles in this book. We're on the 4th one, which is light Cahill. See that? What is that? Chapter 10. I would call this, as far as the 11 are concerned, probably the easiest one. I wouldn't call it easy, especially if you've never tied one of these before, but you know, one of these Catskill Style Dry Flies. But I would say it's one of the easier ones, if not the easiest of the 11. And that's because it has a dubbing body, it only has one hackle. And so the March Brown is a dubbing body, it has 2 hackles, and then you got to worry about the dark wood duck if you're really trying to make it like a true March Brown. This one, it's a dubbing body, it's 1 hackle, and it's just a regular old wood duck. So in reality, this is the one that you probably should do first if you're thinking about starting to tie these things. It's a great way to break into Catskill dries, is to tie the light Cahill. Now there is still some issues with it that you're going to have to overcome, which is material, and I'd like to talk about that first before we get started. Let me put this hook in here. The materials. The materials, it's supposed to be light ginger for the tail and the hackle around the wing. Now, I want to show you 3 different gingers here. Right here. This is why I got you zoomed out. This is a whiting, and they call this light ginger. This is a whiting, and this is dark ginger, and this is a Metz, which I would call very close to barred ginger, but it's still just gingery. It's kind of almost natural brown too, a little bit. It's getting there. It's a very cool color is basically what I'm getting at. It's vibrant, it's bright. The problem is you can't use it. And the reason is not because, oh, it's not the right color. In reality, whatever, right? The issue is that if you look at the back here where you pull the tail from, it's straight up white. And if you look here at one of these, look at the feathers right there, look at that. You got the color up here and then boom, it's white. You can't find a tail from this. It's really impossible. Even when you go deeper, like into one of these, still white. So unusable. This one too. This is a dark ginger. Looks great on this side. Problem is on this side it's white. That's a problem, and that's probably why they chose, or they say, use light ginger, because then you can pull the tail from the back and it's very close to the hackle on the front. Another thing, just while I have it here, this is called a half neck. See that? This is a full neck, right? You can see it's just cut in half. They cut it down this way. This is really good value right here, without a doubt. This is an extremely good value. If you picked up this half neck right here, you could freaking tie 150 Cahills and still have feathers left over for something else. And if you could find this one, this is another whiting. This was a full that somebody cut in half, gave me a half, and gave somebody else a half. This was probably a gold or a platinum whiting neck. This thing would tie, I freaking forget it, right? I mean, this thing could tie 2,000 flies probably. And so this unnecessary. This is kind of what you want, unless you're doing like production tying or something like that. You want a grade 2 or even a grade 3. Grade 3 would even be good. And I think the way they grade these is that like a grade 3 would have less feathers that are usable. So less than this, still okay, because this is a lot. This is a lot. All right, let's get started here. It's a lot of time talking about hackle, but it's an interesting subject. Let me zoom you in and we'll get started. Okay, hook. We're using that Allcock size 10 still. If you want to look at all the other flies I did 3 before this. In the description you'll see You'll see a bunch of links to the videos, and also a video I did on how to put the wing on, a whole bunch of different methods. We're using this size 10 Allcock, this antique hook, for every single one of them. And like this one, I like Cahill, never usually a size 10. I mean, that's a little bit big. But I want them all the same because I'm going to be framing them. That's the reason for this. Thread. This is a Dedi Wax thread. This is a white thread that's run through a waxing machine. They take 8/0 and it changes into probably 6/0, which is extremely big for a dry fly. But we're going to use it because it's there's not many of these rolls out there, and it's just a cool little touch to the fly that is tied with this thread. Now, we're tying them all Catskill style. This is another. We're just adding issues to these things. That's what we're doing. We're just piling on the problems. This thread is a problem for sure. I mean, I'm not used to tying Catskill dries with 6/0, which is essentially what this is, and I'm also not used to doing that space in the front. But if you take some precautions, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay, so the wing. The best tip I can give you on doing it Catskill style is wherever you normally put a wing on, go back like 3 turns. Probably 4 if you use an 8/0. Now this right here, I feel like this is not enough fibers right there. It's not enough. So here's what I'm going to do with this. I have this feather right here. It doesn't have enough barbs on it. And I get another small one right here. It really doesn't have enough barbs on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a method that you don't normally see anybody do. And that's, I'm going to put them on together, splaying away from each other. And it's a great way to save a feather, or save 2 feathers that are too small to do. See that? 2 feathers together, splaying away. Bring them all in. Make sure the tips are in line. That's the one problem with this method, is you really gotta be careful. Where am I going here? Let's take a look here. I think that's maybe just a hair short, just a hair. So go back, do another pinch and loop, bring it forward, tie it down again. Now I assume that that's okay. Now you can see right here, see how they're splayed like that. Forward. Yeah, I think that's okay. And now we'll just make sure we got it separated and evenly. Put a turn through here. Put a turn through here. And then lash on the far side, and then we can try and do a lash on this side. It's tough with this thread because it like doesn't want to bend correctly sometimes because of the wax, but you just force it with your hand. It works. Oh. Man. Yeah, that's good. It's all right. When we come back up, we can make sure it's upright. Now I'm going to make sure that I don't go too far, because I like to tie the tail in sometimes going down. Let me get, so this is what I'm using. This is the light, and I gotta make sure that I get the right length here. And it can be difficult to do that without getting really soft ones. A little bit soft is not that big of a deal when you're just tying it for show. But clearly you can't fish the soft ones. Yeah. So let's go down a little bit more. Just take a look at that. Is it going to be okay? It seems like it. Yeah. Alright, dubbing. This is what I'm using for dubbing. It's just this light Cahill, Nature Spirit, natural dry fly dubbing. You don't need much of this stuff, especially if you're using a light thread. I mean, this is honestly, that's enough. I mean, you probably can't even see that. Now, one of the reasons I like to tie the tail in going down is so that I can leave one turn left and then do that with dubbing. So now I basically can put it on real thin, and I can create the taper that I want. We're just going to have to build this one up a little bit. And just a hair more. Since the tail fibers I had were short, they didn't meet the wing cut. I should have cut the wing just a hair longer. But that's alright. That's the great thing about dubbing. We just make that all disappear with a few extra turns. Here we go. Another thing I want to make sure is that the base that we're tying the hackle onto is big enough, because if it doesn't match or come close to back here, the body thickness, then when you turn the hackle onto here, clearly it's going to be too short, right? What you're tying on, the thickness of that really matters. Okay, back to the light ginger. And we're going to make sure that we take off anything that has we want to make sure all the bars are even. That's what I'm saying here. Yeah, I think that's okay. Just a little bit more. That's good. And I think I need to just clip this a hair shorter. There we go. This hook looks a little bit. Alright, what I want to talk about is this space right here. Before I go any further, when you first start the fly and you leave, let's say, 3 turns in the front, when you get to this point in the fly, you're going to take away one of those turns. If you leave 4 turns, you're going to take away one of those turns, you're going to be left with 3. Either way is that you're going to tie that last turn. After you get to this point, you tie on the hackle. You're going to drop this down onto bare hook. And you are never going to go this way, period. And that's where I think most of the screw-ups happen with this style, is that we're so naturally wanting to go this way that every time we turn, our arm just goes that way. You can't. It's right here, and you never go this way, period. So I'll show you what I mean. We got the hackle ready. Put hackle pliers on, and we want it to go the inside towards the back. And that's, what is that, 2 or 3 or something? No, that's like 1.5 or 2. That's like 2.5 or 3. We're going to do one more in here. And then we'll go forward. We move this stuff out of the way. Get this turn in here. There's one thing I don't like. There we go. Get that in. That's it. And now we can get one more in. Now, watch where the thread is. It's right there. I do the turn to hold it. We move that. We release that. Now, I'm not going to go right. I'm just going to go right on top. See that? That gives us 2. That's good enough because we're going to make more turns. We're just going to go back. We take all this, anything that's left over, and before we turn it, I do see some cut ends. And you think to yourself, oh, you're screwing up the entire fly by folding all this back. You're not. Trust me. It's going to go right back to the way it was. We get one turn, same thing right in that spot, and now that you have everything pushed back, you know what I mean? I folded everything that was loose back. I did that one turn to hold it, and then I go right into the whip finish. And I'm still in that same spot. You see this? Like I haven't moved. And that's it. It's really important that you stick to that plan. The plan of being in that spot and never stopping. And the only way to do it is to start with a bare hook. Now you see, I moved that thing back. I mean, I grabbed the entire thing and I folded it back. But look at it now. It's still fine, right? It's tied in. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can really screw up by folding it back. I think we mentally are like, oh, I can't fold it back. I can't grab that like that. And maybe also it's actually difficult to grab and do a whip finish or something like that. But you get used to it. And that's it. I mean, I think that you can get in here with a pair of scissors or something and crease the hackle if you really want to make it super straight. Yeah, it seems to be one little fiber right here too. That's it, like Cahill. Is that right? Yeah, don't be afraid to really push those hackles back. Don't be afraid to just grab it. You can always bring it back. I mean, the stem's not going anywhere. You're not going to rip the stuff out. You can't really hurt it by doing that. So just do it so you can clean this up. And it's more important that you get that thread to stay right there than it is for you to have to, like, you know, preen this hackle up again. I mean, who cares about that? This is what matters. You really want to stay right there. That's it. Like Cahill. I would definitely go for this one first. Alright. Thanks.